Thank you, Mayor. I will go over the items on the consent agenda for the work session. Just as a reminder, for our COVID protocols, everybody has masks. We have hand sanitizer and mask here. There's breaks, or if you need an extra one. For those of you that are going to speak later, just come to the podium. And we'll just take turns and space out. Looks like everybody's doing a good job with social distancing, so thank you for that. So just as a reminder of your vision statement, mission statement, and core values, your vision statement is that Belmont will be a vibrant, multi-generational community that incorporates small-town charm and heritage with an entrepreneurial spirit. So for the consent agenda, we have 4 items. The first one is adoption of the regular meeting minutes from your December 7th, 2020 meeting. The second item is approval of the special meeting minutes from December 2nd, that's when you interviewed board candidates, on December 2nd, 2020. And then item 3 on the consent agenda is approval of declaration of surplus police vehicles. We have 3 vehicles in the police department that are past their useful life, so we'd like to declare those as surplus, and we will auction them off at the govdeals.com online auction site. And then the final item on the consent agenda is acceptance of the certificate of sufficiency for the annexation petition for the Smith properties on South Point Road. This is step 2 in a 3-step process that you started last month. Here's the map of the 4 Smith family properties, basically at the corner of South Point Road and Bellwood Drive across the street from the new Belmont Middle School. They are applying for annexation to the city limits, and then they will be, if you accept this petition, which the city clerk has investigated, and she has found that it meets all the requirements for annexation, then you will schedule the public hearing for the next council meeting, which will be Monday, February the 1st at 6 o'clock p.m. So this is step 2 in that 3-step process for annexation. So if everything goes according to the plan, Shelley, or the note, we will have the annexation public hearing on February 1st, and then the conditional zoning public hearing at that meeting as well.
That would mean that it would go to the planning board in January.
So this will go to the planning board in January and to you February 1st.
Okay.
Those are all the items I have on consent agenda. Happy to answer any questions about it.
We want to proceed and go ahead and call the meeting to order.
So you can go ahead and go straight into the regular meeting, yes, sir.
Okay. We're going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to ask Jim Hepburn to do the invocation, and I'm going to ask 56 First United Methodist Church to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we enter a new year, guide us in continuing to work towards our vision for a better city. We pray for everyone's continued health, safety, and welfare, and we look forward to a better year ahead. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. 256. You're from First United Methodist Church?
Yes, sir.
Good. All right. And you've been here before? All right, go ahead, guys. Flag's over here, Chris.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for doing the pledge. All right. No further ado, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Are there any recognitions and acknowledgements?
No.
Okay.
No.
I would move
That's
to,
been crossed out.
okay. I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No, sorry. Consent agenda is approved. All right, now we do have one person signed up for public comment. Donna York. Donna, if you want to come up to the podium and state your name and your address, and the reason for you being here.
My name is Donna York. I live at 1024 Wilkerson Street, Belmont, and have approved. My reason for being here, I'm asking for a variance on the 12-foot setback, so I can install a 12 by 22 aluminum forklift. Can you use? We'll leave pictures of what I want to do, and everything you've got.
Want to pass them out, Donna?
I'll leave my survey here too. Behind you. And what I want to do, I want it to be parallel with my driveway. And my driveway is not, let's see, the way you everything.
Is this the board that handles?
Board of Adjustment.
To the Board of Adjustment.
If it's a very, I mean, if it's truly what needs to be done is not allowed under the code as is, it needs to be a variance. If it would be allowed, then it might be as simple as just getting a permit. Is that, I mean, we have a
The young man
planning
behind
director.
you can help you with the process.
So the process you would need would be a formal variance because the Board of Adjustment that meets once a month. You need to file an application, and this is my, I can take your information off the sign-up sheet and give you a call to better explain the process and how we can move forward in that direction.
Okay, what am I? Sure.
Now, do you have a water problem on the side with the rock?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
It's all good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. All right, that moves us on to item number 2 on the agenda. Apartment Building Form, a request to amend Chapter 5 of the Land Development Code to eliminate apartment building form in most zoning districts to encourage apartment development adjacent to the future light rail corridor.
Thank you, Mayor. And-
We need to move to go into public hearing.
Yes.
I will so move.
I'll second.
Motion to go into public hearing, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're in public hearing now, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And so our planning director, Shelley DeHart, will present the report to you. We did receive 2 letters regarding this item, so I emailed it to you this afternoon, but we wanted to print them out for you because we received them later today. So we do have 2 items of public comment. I don't think anybody else signed up for the public comment for this public hearing, but we do want to enter this into the record for the public comment and the public hearing. That being said, I'll turn it over to Shelley.
Thank you. Mayor and council, as read into the record, this is a public hearing for the text amendment 2020.07. This is the request to amend Chapter 5 of the city's land development code to encourage the apartment building form within the Wilkinson Boulevard corridor and prohibit the form in other areas of the city. And you will recall this was a directive by the city council, I believe in October, with a timeline to move it forward and bring it back in December to the city council. The reasoning stated at the workshop for the directive is that the council felt the building form was more appropriate within the Wilkinson corridor because it will support the future light rail project. We did get clarification at that workshop regarding the directive that council members indicated that apartment units could still be possible in the other zoning districts that currently allow them. However, they would need to be incorporated within a mixed-use building form where we would have non-residential use on the first floor, the street level. So with that directive, staff's approach is we quickly evaluated all the city's zoning classifications where the apartment building form is currently permitted. We reviewed we studied actually the zoning map for implications on where these zones were, what would happen if we took that building form out, Then we prepared the draft text amendment that was presented to the planning board at their November meeting. Now, the draft amendment, the original draft amendment, did have two exclusions. We felt that it would not be appropriate to move that building form from the ICD zoning district, that's institutional campus development, and of course not in the highway commercial zone, because that is the Wilkerson corridor zoning classification. So what was presented to the planning board is also included in your staff report as attachment 1. We included the original text amendment. We simply went through the various zoning classifications that allowed that building form. We identified any constraints or performance standards related to multifamily use for that building form. So the planning board was aware of its implications. We shared with the board the purpose of each of the zones. And then showed the far right column showed simply the proposed amendment that was taken to, let me stop here before I go there. I'm sorry, the institutional campus zoning district. I just indicated that we did not include removing the apartment building form in that district. What we found is within the city of Belmont, there are 6 parcels zoned ICD. 2 of which are conditional zoning districts that the hospital, for one that was recently approved, that doesn't include any multifamily use. So that building form could not happen in those 2 parcels. And then the other 4 parcels are Belmont Abbey College, which is a college where you would expect the apartment building form to accommodate student housing. Then the Sisters of Mercy campus is also ICD. Their general operations include housing for their programs, which we would expect it to be in some similar apartment building form. Then South Point High School and Gaston College. So based on the current ICD zone was out there, we felt it was appropriate not to prohibit that building form in that zone. And of course, again, we did not include it in the highway commercial zone because that is the target area where the light rail project is. So this is the planning board in November. They had a great extensive discussion about the proposal. And during the discussion, we started talking about any alternative proposals. And what came out of that meeting was, of course, we wanted to, what was proposed and directed by the planning board was to maintain the apartment building form in the current districts that currently allow that building form, but then require all multifamily residential development to obtain approval by a conditional zoning process. Now that actually results in more control within the city. So it wouldn't matter if it's a mixed-use building or if it's a townhome form, if it's a multifamily development, we would ensure that it would be brought to the planning board and the city council and have more public engagement. So with that, the planning board tabled the item, directed staff to prepare the draft and bring it back at their December meeting for review. They also wanted more input from the public and asked that we advertise it in a different manner to get more exposure. So we did run a legal ad in the Gaston Gazette for 3 consecutive weeks prior to the planning board meeting. And we did get more input. I had more phone calls and emails by property owners and different organizations that Belmont County College reached out to us. So what was presented to the planning board at the December meeting was a simple amendment, same zoning districts that didn't change. We did not touch the category of building form. We just simply, under the allowed uses, added, where appropriate, that all multifamily developments can only occur with the approval of a conditional zoning. Again, we did not include that where we'd like to encourage that type of development, which would be the Wilkinson corridor, the HC, or the ICD district. So in the draft that's prepared for your consideration tonight, these are the specific sections and pages in which that amendment has been developed. So at the planning board meeting, before they reached a approved motion, there was an initial motion and a discussion about delaying the effective date. They felt that if there were developments out there in process, because usually a potential project is in the works for months before it's ever submitted to the city and such. So there was a motion on the floor to support the text amendment language, however, delay the effective date to June 1st, 2021. That motion failed. There was a second motion to approve as presented, and that was passed unanimously by the planning board. So the recommendation is to approve as presented. They did make the consistency finding that you see here on your screen and within your packet, that the proposed amendment is consistent with the various goals of the adopted comprehensive land use plan and small area plan, because it provides the opportunity for choice in housing and the ability for city review, approval, and implementation by 22 basis. This will support other goals in the adopted plans in the area of infrastructure, land use, mobility, and community character. And again, this proposed amendment also allows for more community engagement. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Shelley. Anybody have any questions for Shelley?
So let me ask you what happened. Our meeting, council gave staff a directive with the language that we wanted that building type removed from everything except for the Wilkinson Boulevard corridor. Which you did, you presented the planning and zoning. Now, when you presented planning and zoning, you tell them that this is council's directive and we need to create language that supports their directive, or do we say we want to come up with an alternative plan?
No, we presented for the directive of the council, the planning board duty to consider all proposed text amendments or projects that come before them and have a discussion about it and make a recommendation to council. So even if their recommendations is different than the council directive, no one is bound by what's been presented here tonight and vice versa. So they did have actually an excellent discussion at both meetings about this, and just felt the better approach for the city was to maintain the building form, but go broader and require that all multifamily developments, no matter what the building form, put the power of approval in the council's hands, so it be considered on a case-by-case basis. It'd be consistent with all our existing adopted plans, where our number one goal is actually choice in housing, and also expand the public engagement opportunities for the general public.
Let me ask you another question. I think I read this, and I'm not sure, that apartments would still be allowed in all zoning categories if they're under 30,000 feet, and that would be by right?
Well, it depends how you're asking the question. What's proposed to you tonight is that no matter what the size is for multifamily, they would have to go through a conditional zoning. There would be no more by right multifamily, no matter what the size is. So that's what's before you tonight.
And that's one last question. I was just curious. I wasn't able to sit in on that meeting. Why did they want to defer it 6 months to So was that today? What was the reason behind that?
Again, we have a very diverse planning board. Some are engineers, some are architects, so they're very familiar with working for private clients or in the public sector, how development occurs. So they were of the opinion just to shut the light, I'll say like a light switch, shut it off, and the next day you're on a different system, to set back projects that may have been working for months and haven't interacted with the city or actually applied yet. They wanted to, they proposed like a buffer. And sometimes ordinances, councils I've seen have done that. Not in all cases. In most cases, they're effective upon approval. But there have been cases where they wanted a transition period to the new ordinance, and they'll delay an effective date.
I have some questions.
Sure.
Was the proposed text amendment that was originally presented to the planning board in November consistent with the comprehensive land use plan?
No, it was not. Not in many of the areas promote mixed housing types, including the apartment building form. So what happens when you have a proposed text amendment that is inconsistent with the plan, by approving a text amendment that is different from the adopted plan, there's an automatic change in the adopted comprehensive land use plan.
Have you seen that done before?
I have not. It's the concept of an automatic change to your adopted plan is something fairly recent. It hasn't been out there that long.
And you said there was a voluminous discussion of the proposal as originally presented at the November meeting, and then what the planning board ultimately recommended come back in December. Based on your recollection of that discussion, was there much, if any, support for the original proposal among the planning board?
No, I did not hear any support for that.
However, what was the planning board vote on the proposal in December?
It was ultimately unanimous vote to approve as presented.
And I think you've explained this to some extent already, but for the benefit of those at home, what is the difference between conditional zoning and by right development?
Yes, so the conditional zoning process is a process that has more public engagement. In fact, we just enhanced our public engagement process for conditional zoning. So the project consent is reviewed by staff. It's usually because it's a conditional project, there's more negotiations and discussions, and we ultimately have seen, our experience has been that we result in a better project. So besides staff review, they now have to have 2 community meetings, where they get plan phase, when they turn the comments into the city. We talk with them again to see if we can help modify the plan closer to address concerns from the community meeting. Then there's a second community meeting prior to the planning board meeting. Again, we get minutes from that community meeting and talk to them about what the concerns are, see if there are ways that we can come up with conditions or modifications to address it. It then goes to the planning board. And then it goes, there's recommendations from planning board and to the city council. So there's 4 opportunities for the general public to interact on the proposed conditional zoning. 2 community meetings, the planning board meeting, as well as the city council meeting. With a by right development, there's really 2 by rights currently. If you're under a certain building size, it's all administrative at staff. And the only authority the city has, city staff, is to ensure they meet the minimum standards of land development code, so there's no public engagement. If it's a by right development or major development plan, 30,000 square feet buildings or greater, it does go to the planning board and it does go to the council, and in fact, I'll step back, we have now added a community meeting component to that. So there is a community meeting, then it goes to the planning board and the council, but ultimately they meet all the requirements in land development code, all of our regulations, we're supposed to approve it, if they by right, but it does give an opportunity, a less opportunity for negotiations to try to get more than the minimum requirement.
So it's your professional opinion that the outcome of conditional zoning tends to lead to better projects than by right projects?
Absolutely, because the development team or applicant is well aware that ultimately in conditional zoning, the decisions up to the city council, and aware that if it's a by right, if it meets code, then we're more susceptible to legal challenges as we try to improve it.
And staff finds the proposal before us today consistent with the comprehensive land use plan, whereas the original proposal is not. Is that correct?
That's correct. That was our opinion.
And just to clarify, 'cause there are a whole lot of provisions, including the packet. Is it, we're just amending 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, 5.9, 5.10, and 5.11?
So those are the various sections in the middle, and then the actual page numbers in the
Okay.
ordinance. So yes, you're correct. Those are all the zoning districts that currently allow the apartment building form
Okay.
in local council.
Well, except for the two that we're not changing.
That's correct. That does not include the HC or the ICD. That's
Okay.
correct.
All right, thank you. No further questions.
I have a comment, possibly any questions. There were two proposed projects that we were aware of that caused our eyebrows to raise or red flags. I'm assuming, am I assuming correctly, that the planning and zoning board was not aware of either of those projects because they had not come to their level, is that correct?
That's correct. They have not been formally presented to them. The information for material mill, for example, one of the projects was on the website, so they have seen it there, but nothing has been formally presented to them.
And my question would be, if we're trying to have public comment, engagement, and transparency, should we consider as a board here that one of us needs to go and say this is why? Because I don't know whether that's your responsibility or ours, because they might have perceived it differently if they had seen what we saw.
Well, typically, I'm happy to do that since I was on the planning board and enjoy, among the few people who do, enjoy sitting in on the meetings, but it's hard to do that in a virtual
Well,
setting.
yeah, and procedurally, I don't know whether it's
Yeah.
correct or appropriate. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
What's the best
But it's
way
good,
to-
you know, I understand what you're saying, and they have said the same thing, saying, well, sometimes we don't quite, you know, it helps to have some explanation as to what you're getting at.
Yeah, they weren't listening in the initial conversation. Now, we do throughout the weekly report that is sent, that has all the sketch plans have been formally submitted, we do send that to the county board. When we do text amendments, we, as staff, we, and I believe it would be a planning board position as well, that's what we look at more holistically. We don't look at doing text amendments for one individual project or another. They could all be reasons as to why there was a directive that way, but we look at the impact and the discussion holistically for the city. What are the implications if we implement this and targeting this? It could have broader implications, and that's sort of what happened. So I certainly think that a council member wants to report or send a memo that is included in the staff report, a link even to the meeting, that they could listen to it before the meeting. But they had a really good discussion about it, but they did not talk specifically about any one project that had been formally submitted for the
Well,
project.
there are legal ramifications for doing that,
Well,
aren't
that would
there?
be the concern, is, again, when we look at testimony, we look at it in a broader spectrum. So, it's rare that we get a testimony targeted. project, but I know there was a bigger
Yeah,
concern.
certainly
Yes.
that was not.
Yes, that was not, it was a broader
No,
concern.
when you see something that you think needs to be adjusted, then you do that, and that certainly was the case here, so I want to make that
Right.
clear.
No,
We did
it
not
wasn't.
target
Yes, yes.
anybody.
So, but we don't name projects
Right.
or anything,
Yeah.
if that was a
To me,
concern.
I guess the big concern is I want all the information, but I'm making a decision, and I think we need to look at our procedures
Okay.
and have that, because, I mean, why would you even do this? You know, so that's the big concern.
The flaw in how we proceeded was, we have a process that we adopted on a retreat where we identified the problem as a city council. Staff takes that problem, does the research, and they go and present it. The issue with this was, as Richard mentioned, we had a directive towards them. Here's what we want, and here's the exact language that we want. That doesn't work. That's not how it's supposed to be done, and that's where you get kind of this mixed signal bag. My experience on planning and zoning was we were advised to always look at every text amendment in the broadest terms, never to look at one specific project because of the wider, not ramifications, but cause and effect. So unknown consequences or unknown opportunities. You have to look at the big picture. So I think this shook out fine, probably because we had a good staff and a good planning board. I think any confusion was our own fault by putting out that directive and skipping the whole process that we adopted. And so I think we're fortunate this time to come with a good conclusion, but certainly it could have, I mean, if we had a planning and zoning board that took orders from us instead of giving us advice, we'd be in the pinch. But fortunately, we have a good board that pushed back and asked the right questions.
I concur with that like 100%, because I think I want someone to, push back and, look at things and not just, be a rubber stamp and take marching orders, but to say, hey, wait a minute, did you think about this, or did you think about the implications of that? And, I just agree wholeheartedly, and I'm glad they did that. And I think what resulted from that is better than what came in. And so, I certainly appreciate that, because I kind of feel like they might have, we'll see what happens, they might have saved us from ourselves. But I agree with everything that Ryan said.
I'll add to the conversation. So we are currently in the period of development process. Although we're in a pandemic, that it's giving people, I think, more time to look at available land so I think that development sector will continue. So maybe next time that there's this concern, because it was on a particular building site with a lot of development sectors coming our way, we could coordinate a shared workshop with the planning board and council to have that discussion back and forth so everybody hears exactly what the concern is and talk about it and have that dialogue before we go and work on the amendment. So it's clear what the concern is, because you hear more than the planning board, they get discussion that goes to that. So
I also,
But I think to Margaret's point, I think it's important that it's conveyed to them why council wanted to do this. And, in their mind, they just see this and they look at it as capricious and arbitrary. It should be, there's impetus for this because we feel like there's a gap there. Because without that, they're completely blind to why we are pursuing their action.
But I will say that, having been on the planning board as recently as 2019 and worked with many of the people who are still there, I know that a number of them have a lot of our concerns about apartments and have voted against proposals for apartments that were presented. So, there's certainly, whether they know about specific projects or not, there is certainly that concern that we have discussed ourselves and seen at our meetings that is shared by, at a minimum, several members of the current planning board. And yet, they unanimously steered us in this direction.
Well, also, you pointed out that it's in line with our land use plan, but keep in mind, as recently as our last council meeting, maybe the one before, there was brought up that this council may look at the land use plan differently, and it might need to be modified. Staff brought up that it might be time just in the passage of time to take a look and review it. I mean, just because it meets the standard of what everyone pursued, what they wanted, for 5, 6, 7 years ago. All right.
Just finished it.
That may not be the practical reality today. Let me honest with you, I would wager that, if we put it out in front of the public, and we had very well attended meetings, when you hand people those stickers, or ask them, do you want more apartments? Do we need more apartments? The land use plan, I would bet you dollars to donuts come back and say, no, we don't need them. Our schools are overcrowded. Excuse me. And our roads are too congested. And I think that would be the prevailing view right now. And that's something to consider as well. I don't,
That's something I would agree with. Actually, somebody on the program talking the other day was talking about schools and funding them, we don't really fund or build schools or, but, we have people who would attend them, and, we've got lots of known issues with transportation infrastructure and whatnot here. The one thing that I've heard consistently is that, people don't really want to see any more apartments. And I thought that was kind of called a positive aspect of the Plan A. With the, from my perspective, I don't necessarily need flexibility on approving, rejecting apartments in certain areas of town, because from my perspective, it's not appropriate to put apartments in certain areas of town. Just because the infrastructure that's in place can't support it, what's already existing is already overwhelming a lot of the existing resources. Because apartments are very resource intensive, just because you've got so many people in one spot. From my perspective, I actually kind of like the first plan. I thought that was kind of, consistent with a lot of what I heard last year out on the campaign trail. So I would actually, and we can discuss this more if you'd like, but I would move to accept the first plan that remove the apartment building form from all of the sorts of stuff.
I would just say one last thing. We're still in public hearing. But at the appropriate time, that's fine. But I would just say, I was on the campaign trail and I heard those same things that Mark did, and obviously I share that concern. But I also have an obligation, I think, as an elected representative, I understand what the people want and the concerns they voice, but I need to achieve those concerns in a sound and rational manner. And I don't think that that's what's being done in option A. I think option B, which is what was presented to us by the planning board, is the more rational, more consistent decision. And again, if some of these proposals come to us and we don't like them, we can certainly nix them with our vote on the conditional use. But I'm a lawyer, and I've mentioned that from time to time. I deal in nuances, and there's always an exception, and I just I'm concerned about being so categorical as to just simply eliminate something versus there might be a situation where it might be appropriate, where there might not be any other use that can be made of a certain land or building than this, and I just hate to box us into a corner for a long period of time. I certainly think we've had no issues letting our feelings about some of this development and certain development types be known, and I think that message is getting out, and we shouldn't be afraid to stick to that decision when something comes up with conditional zoning. But I'm just hesitant to take such a categorical, broad brush approach.
Well, I mean, personally, there's certain areas I agree with Mark. I don't think infill is an appropriate place to establish neighborhoods, to put down an apartment complex. And, case in point, I voted against the Everfall project, specifically because of that. I was fine with townhomes, but, the residents there expressed to me a lot that they had no issue with the townhomes, but this neighborhood was established in, the 30s or 40s. And they expected it to continue as a traditional neighborhood and had every reason to. And all of a sudden, they've got, 150 apartments in the center of the community. I mean, at very minimum, I would strike that one. And I don't disagree. I mean, we were all for this amendment in the Senate. And it's possible that this is better, but what I'll also say is that I don't know too many conditional uses that have been rejected. I mean, they are pretty much negotiated down to where it's accepted. So if you eliminate the building type, you basically do away with the argument that if you do a conditional use, if you don't think it's appropriate in these areas, you're still going to get in these areas. It would just be, like you said, nuance.
Only if the majority of city council thinks that's the correct direction. So I don't disagree with, a lot of your concerns, but I kind of look at my time on this board as a real small chapter of a long history of Belmont. And I think it'd be rather arrogant of me to make a decision that, handcuffs argument and debate that takes that away from a town that, my college is 400 we had a lot of room.
Wait a minute. Your college is named after Washington and Jefferson.
That was after they merged. So whenever, there was a lot of rules there. The board of trustees have to evolve and have to change. They've got roles for those.
Our initial concern was that a project that was proposed to us did not look like what we would like to do to make sure that we approved. And the Imperial Neighborhood townhouse product across from Brooklyn Cabot and Cloud was going to be smaller. We really wanted to make sure it matched and looked good. My concern here is that I was very surprised that we had another sketch plan that had turned up after we made this initial proposals in advising me because I don't think that we would want this in the county bill, the way this gets on this bill. So I certainly hope that the people involved, the developers, the people with the land, will work with us in every situation and what we're seeing right here. So I look for the motion, but I have concerns.
What I would like to ask council is there is a motion second on the floor. Can I offer an amendment to that motion? I'd like to offer an amendment that if we approve as Mark proposes, with the amendment being that building type be eliminated from infill. I think completely incorporated in infill.
For clarification, what's the direct
What we've seen, like, is that we call infill development, lots in the county.
Either type of limited.
I guess that would be, the majority of them, I believe, are traditional neighborhoods.
Okay, so, you mentioned infill project that was approved, that was approved as a conditional zoning. I'm sorry, which one?
You want to stop the table?
Okay, yeah.
Well, I mean,
There
I
you go.
think it's interesting.
So it
Where-
would
where-
be NCR zoning district, it would be considered residential, you know. Keep in mind, that zoning district is specific to other housing types. It promotes mixed residential building forms. And the original proposal was to remove the apartment building form out of that zoning district and add a stop type building form. So what that means is there might be an infill where what we heard is you're a full apartment as long as there's sewer on three levels. But if it's infill, it's not, you may end up doing the stop type building apartments and still a third
I think
by
the
conditional zoning.
the confusion, I think, is that, there is a specific zone called infill development. Are you referring to, when you say infill, are you referring to that specific zone, or are you referring
I'm
to
sorry,
something
no,
else?
I'm not, because there are a limited amount of infill zone properties, and that's that category you see there.
Mhm.
The one project that was referred to by Councilmember Curry was not an infill zone property. It was a conditional zoning. They had to propose a zoning change in order to do the mixed housing type of an apartment building form and a townhome form, and it was NCR, Neighborhood Center Residential. That was consistent with the comprehensive land use plan as well. And again, it ultimately went to council for a decision that's not really any different than what we're proposing.
So when you,
I cannot remember the zoning classification for the Aberfoyle. Is that
It-
traditional
it's-
neighborhood development?
It was conditional neighborhood center residential. So it's the first category up there.
All right, so you're saying that by that motion, we would be eliminating the ability to have the storefront with the residents on top,
By eliminating what?
the infill?
No,
They asked you to
no, that's
clarify
not what
that
I'm
point.
saying at all. There's no, what I'm trying to say is there's no easy way to address your concerns of infill proposing an apartment building, because the city is set up with, in a zoning fashion.
Mhm.
And even then, someone can propose to rezone from one category to one that may allow an apartment building form. So you can't just.
Okay, because I mean, just to cut to the chase, what I'm trying to get to
Yes.
is eliminating the possibility of what we saw at Aberfoyle, an apartment complex landing in an established neighborhood.
Well, again, if you do it by conditional zoning, the council just says no.
Right. In that event, since there's no way to easily categorize that, I would withdraw my motion.
All right, Mark, you're up again.
Move to accept the proposal as presented.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I would also move that we sign the proposed text amendment consistent with Goal 1 of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan, land use and other goals of the land use plan and small area plans by providing opportunity for choice in housing and the ability for city review and approval on a case-by-case basis in support of additional goals of infrastructure, land use, mobility, and community character.
Did we get all that?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
All right. Very good.
Good discussion.
That moves us on to agenda item number 4, public hearing and Washington judicial hearing. We'll turn it over to
Have a motion to go into public hearing.
I'll make a
Motion to go into
motion.
public hearing.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Parks,
Okay.
all yours.
First of all, y'all are familiar with this this type of proceeding. What we've been calling a conditional use permit is now got a new name called special use permit by North Carolina law and our own internal code. And it'll involve, this case involves a lot width issue on property at 402 Ferrell Avenue. So I need to know, Mr. Russell, you will be representing the petitioner, the applicant, and how many witnesses would you have?
We have
One witness, and staff has one witness. Would y'all, the 2 witnesses come forward? Left. Place your left hand on the Bible, and your right. You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay. Before we proceed, I'll need to ask some preliminary questions to the council. First, do any of you have any pecuniary or financial interest in the outcome of this proceeding?
No.
Second, do any of you have any preconceived bias or any reason that would prevent you from making a fair and impartial determination on the testimony that you're about to hear?
No.
Okay. Having heard that, the process will be, we'll hear from staff as far as their testimony, and we're not bound by the rules of evidence. We have pretty much a narrative presentation that you'll be asked to present. Mr. Russell will be allowed to question you on cross-examination, and after that, the council can ask questions. And then we'll have the same procedure when you present your witness. And at the close of the testimony, you give a closing statement. Everybody good with that? Okay, Mr. Hart, you want to proceed?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor and Council, and for the record, my name is Shelley DeHart. I am the planning director for the City of Belmont, as well as the project planner for this request. So this is the request to consider and approve a special use permit to allow a subdivision of a 1.52 acre parcel into 3 parcels with 60-foot wide, resulting in 3 60-foot wide lots. Now, the approval of a special use permit is required pursuant to Section 5.424 of the Belmont Land Development Code that reads that on infill lots that are proposed with lot width less than the average lot width within 300 feet of subject site or in 1 block length are subject to an approval of a special use permit, and that brings us here tonight. So based on the applicant's submittal, the average block length within 300 feet is about 90 feet in width, and within the 1 block average, it is just over 87 feet in width. The applicant is Southern Home Group Realty, LLC. Representing the applicant tonight is Their attorney, John Russell of Mullen, and Cooper. So for the record, some information about the site itself. The site is located at 402 Ferrell Avenue in Belmont, parcel ID number 125687. The zoning classification for the property is general residential, which allows 6 dwelling units to the acre. The existing lot size is 1.52 acres. Now, it's actually slightly larger than that. There's some property that is in the railroad right-of-way that is not part of this 1.52 acres. The existing lot frontage width for the parcel is just over 180 linear feet. There was a home built in 1942, just over 800 square feet. It was actually subject to a house fire in May of 2020. The new property owner has obtained a permit to demolish the existing house. So here's an aerial photograph that's in your packet, as well as on the screen. You can see it's a very large property. It's actually what we would consider somewhat of an outlier. It's very large in size and very large in lot width. You can compare it to some other sites. So the properties in the area, their lot width ranges from 50 linear feet up to 213 linear feet. And that happens to belong to one property across the railroad tracks to the north. The property sizes in the area range from a 1/16 of an acre up to 1.25 acres in size. The 1/16 of an acre is about 7,000 square feet. So this property has some constraints on it. There is a public sanitary sewer easement on the property. There's also 2 open storm drain ditches, stormwater ditches, that enter from on the property from the west and the east, and they end up merging into one single drainage, open drainage for the north of the property towards the railroad track. Now, this property is actually lower than the adjacent neighborhood. So the upstream, the higher area, is to the south, and everything drains towards this part of Ferrell Avenue, goes into the storm drain ditches, and ultimately heads to the northern point at the railroad track. So this property is the lower point. So again, here's an aerial photograph. You can see the lot sizes I provided on here. Again, they range from very small, and there's a couple of large parcels that are about an acre, but they tend to be the outliers in the area. I've provided for you this evening a larger site plan, an actual survey of the site. You can see the open drainage ditches, as well as the sanitary sewer easement, the proposed subdivision of these 3 lots. The subject property is located in the neighborhood conservation land use district, of the comprehensive land use plan. This area is targeted for development of similar use design features, any special identity characteristics of the community. We would look in those 4 areas for consistency. The existing neighborhood is built out with smaller single-family homes. They range from, actually, I think the smallest in there is about 700 square feet up to almost 2,000 square feet in size. Most of them are single-story bungalow and ranch-style homes. The applicant's proposal, again, is to subdivide the existing lot into three 60-foot wide lots. Although the lot width is less than the average, the lot sizes of these proposed lots are consistent with the surrounding area, actually larger. The smallest of the three lots is .47, just under a half an acre. And tract one, the largest property, is 3/4 of an acre site. So because the site, the lots will have great depth and they're larger in size, they actually have larger required side yard setbacks. So their minimum side yard setback for these proposed lots would be 12 feet on each side. Again, the home product proposed, they said between 13 and 1,500 square feet. They look similar in style of the home to a community. Building material is proposed as a mixed material with front porches. In your application, your attachment one has more information on the type of homes proposed. Now, with a special use permit, there are three required findings that need to be made. I will not, they're in your packet, I will not read them to the record, but all three would have to be in the positive in order to approve a project. Considerations for the council. As staff, we present facts associated to the research we conduct for tonight's presentation. We do not make a recommendation on a quasi-judicial project. We will suggest conditions of approval if the council is considering this approval. There are 4 conditions of approval outlined in your packet, and we're proposing a 5th condition be added related to stormwater drainage. So the first condition is the applicant shall process the minor subdivision plat in compliance with section 15.3 of the Land Development Code. The residential unit shall be connected to municipal water and sanitary sewer as approved by the city engineer. The residential unit shall adhere to rendering provided at the council meeting while platting. Shall be cementitious fiber board, some people refer to it like a hardy board product, brickstone or similar material. Vinyl material may be used as trim only for the home. The special use permit shall be valid for 1 year, so they have a year to implement, if approved, implement this request. The additional condition is related to stormwater drainage in the issue. Again, this is downstream from the drainage pattern. But speaking with the city engineer, we recommend a condition be added that a drainage study shall be required for review and approval by the city engineer prior to the approval of a subdivision plat. This would ensure that the runoff that goes in this direction coming downstream can be handled by the development of these properties, and it can be carried through ultimately to the northern side without an impact to the neighbors or the surrounding property. That would be conducted again prior to any approval of the subdivision plat if this is approved. So with that, I would like to enter my presentation into the record as well as the staff report that you received tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Russell?
Is it okay to ask questions from here?
Sure.
Okay. Everybody hear me? Okay. I'll try to speak up. Thank you, Shelley. I'm just going to run through a few questions. So the proposed use of this property is for 3 single-family residential homes. That's consistent and will not change from the current use and zoning classification near the LDC?
That's correct.
Okay. And you've indicated, I think in your report, I want to make sure I understood correctly, staff has reviewed this project and agrees that from the standpoint of the requirements of the Land Development Code in terms of setbacks, height, lot features, the proposal meets all the requirements and specifications of the code?
That is correct.
Is it correct, it sounds like from the lot width standpoint, the applicant could, I know that's not what's proposed here, could subdivide this lot into 2 lots as a matter of right without the special use permit application, and then build 2 large homes as a matter of right, would not need any decision for that, right?
That is correct.
So what they're here to do is to add a 3rd lot and then to build smaller homes than what could be built on a subdivided 2-lot property.
Based on the conditions proposed, yes.
I think you pointed out that the average lot width here that we're dealing with is sort of skewed by, among other things, this property itself is one of the larger properties.
That's correct. It does skew the average.
I think that one of our conversations about this, you actually did the math, that if this property were excluded, the average lot width would be around 61 feet.
Yes, between 61, 62 feet.
Right at where, what we're looking at for these properties. And then you made this point pretty clearly, that just for the record, even with the 3rd home, the lot size of these properties is, for all 3 properties, would be larger than the average lot size of the surrounding,
I did not do the calculation for the average lot size. I did look and compare it. They are in keeping with the lot sizes. If you take the outliers out, in keeping with the lot sizes even larger than the lot of the existing property.
So looking then, turning to what the homes that are proposed, the proposed scale and size of the homes is compatible and consistent with the surrounding property?
Yes.
Have you received some comments from the neighbors and from?
Yes, I've received 2 emails which I passed out to the council prior to the meeting. And there were 2 letters of support. So the project, yes, favorable. I did not verify whether they have standing or not.
Sure. And are those the record, the support?
They've been passed up.
Do you have those added to the record?
Yes.
You mentioned that the project is consistent with the city's comprehensive land use plan for Ferrell Avenue, is that correct?
Yes.
And there's already water and sewer connections there, that,
Yes, I didn't verify that, so I'm not submit to that. There's an existing house, but there is available for connection to all 3 lots.
and these are, of course, connected with water and sewer, that would be a requirement.
That would be required.
Okay. The plan provides for adequate parking because of the depth of the lot, so that would not be a concern.
That's correct. It complies with our 3-foot depth parking coverage.
With respect to the drainage issue, have you had the opportunity to at least briefly discuss that with the applicant?
I did.
Okay, and we'll address this a little bit, so you're understanding that there's opportunity for improvements to that open drainage. Obviously, there'll have to be a water study, but there's some opportunity there to improve the area of the drainage.
Well, if the project is in condition for the study, there is an opportunity to address drainage, not just on the side, but to the corner around it.
So you would expect some potential improvement in part of the development of this property?
I would expect it.
And the city of Portsmouth has had a good bit of experience with this kind of infill development through previously conditional use permit, not special use permit. And is that correct?
Yeah, the city considers similar cases.
Sure, and there's not been any indication that infill development or subdivision materially endangers public health or safety just by adding additional homes to these areas.
Well, again, we look to building codes and other regulations, whether it's fire, building codes, to ensure that there isn't a potential for public safety impact.
And I guess all of what I'm getting at is there's been a history of successful infill development through the conditional use permit process, and that has not resulted in any adverse impact on the public health and safety. Is that correct?
Well, what I'll share in the record is we look at quasi-judicial requests like this, especially case by case basis.
We're,
Yeah.
well, and just to conclude then, the project and the site plan that you've reviewed meets all the principles and specifications for land development.
It does. We reviewed it for the performance standards for the zone that it's in, the general residential, routed it to the development team, and then spoke to fire about this particular project as well. It appears that it complies with all the procedures.
Thanks, Warren. Council members, any questions for Ms. Orange?
I had one, I just wanted to be clear that the side yard setbacks that were updated at the last month council meeting, those are being met.
They're being well exceeded.
Okay.
Yes. These are 12-foot side yard setbacks, and the text amendment proposed 6-foot minimum side yard setbacks for new single-family lots.
I have a question, since we've had drainage issues in that area, if the study indicates that something needs to be done that's cost prohibitive, the applicant will just go back probably to do 2 units and nothing would happen as far as the drainage goes. I'm really concerned about any subdividing at all. And evidently we're stuck with 2, and 3 might give us a better situation if they have to do something. In other words, how does that play into this?
Well, I'm going to glance over at the city engineer to help participate in this. Someone can do 2-lot subdivisions by right. Now, if we identify an issue, we always talk to the applicant, and I'm not sure that there would be requirements actually put in, but, I mean, we try to always ensure public safety, so it depends on the results of the study. We've been able to get some drainage improvements done even on some by right, but can we mandate it? I'm not sure.
You can.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Russell, do you plan to address this issue?
Through my client.
Yes. Maybe you can hold your question until we hear.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just one more. Curious, how do you determine what one block length is for purposes of these calculations, especially in a situation like this where it's...
Yeah, it's very difficult. Sometimes it's very clean, it's between street breaks, but when it's on a side, we just kind of take a good chunk of it and do the best we can. And again, the way it works out is the average is based on the higher number. So the higher number is the 300-foot radius, so that was more important.
Shirley, yes, you addressed both my questions really about flooding, but I was going to ask about the large lot, the 125, and if it's skewed, the average, just to me it looked like it would skew the average. I mean, that being the case, I mean, it's not a true representation if it's skewed. I mean, you have to include it, I guess. But do we have any latitude, I mean, to throw out the largest and the smallest, so to speak, or do you have to? Because this is going to, if it skews this, it could skew everything in the future if you have that one-off lot.
Yeah. Lots like that always skew quite a bit, but there's nothing in our ordinance that says that we take the average, we can throw out any lots that we have the opinion that skews it, but that could be very subjective, unless we put exact criteria in there, if no more than 5% of the lot skews it, then we can throw it out. We have to come up with some criteria. So we try to follow black and white by the ordinance, and one of the lots, even the lot width, is on the north side of the railroad track on Sioux Avenue. And that's in a completely different neighborhood. So
So we have talked to staff about needing to go back and look at this section to see if there's an easier way to apply this requirement. And again, I agree with you as far as the queuing, but based on what's in the ordinance, we don't have the ability just to throw it out.
I mean,
That's
it's
for council to consider.
I mean, we might want to look like that, because this is kind of an anomaly for a one-off.
It is, it's definitely an outlier, yes.
Any other questions from Mr. Hart? Thank you, Mr. Step down. Mr. Wilson?
Okay, I'm gonna, would you like to ask questions from here?
Sure.
Okay. So, if you would start by stating your name and address for the record.
Okay, Cynthia Hagler, 110 Main Street, Belmont, North Carolina.
Okay, and for those who don't know you, could you just speak very briefly, just introduce yourself and talk about your business and Southern Homes Group Realty, which is the applicant and its connection to Belmont and Washington County?
Yeah, so Southern Home Group and Southern Home Group Realty are different companies, both based here in Belmont. We do about 20 rehabs a year in Jackson County, a few in Belmont. We also purchase and develop land, so we're an investment real estate fund. We do some listings.
How long have you been operating in Belmont?
We have been active for 3 years as Southern Home Group.
And you actually currently live in this neighborhood on County Street,
Yes.
the neighborhood where the property is.
Yeah, I believe our house is the one on the bottom.
Okay. So if you were just kind of generally talk about this project, why you want to do it, and sort of what your goals are to do that?
Yes, so the goal was making the smaller houses, rather than subdividing it into two and making larger houses, was for more affordable housing. Really, I was motivated by people who are entering the market to have the ability to buy houses. An ability certainly in this neighborhood that is becoming scarce. Our goal for pricing on these houses is that upper 200s to low 300s. Most of the new construction in this neighborhood is going mid 300s to 400s. I've talked to several people that will probably start one for 500. So these houses are 1,500 square feet. They're smaller, and they would hopefully end up being sub 300 is our goal. Of course, with the pandemic, we're having rising construction prices, so low 300s would still be our goal for that.
Okay. So we're going to a bunch of questions, which is great. So based on your experience in the real estate and rehab market, is this price point in this market that you're looking to serve, do you feel like that's a needed area in terms of our housing stock in Belmont, and what we could do more of that?
Yes, it is a large need in all Jackson County, especially in Belmont. As everybody moves over from Charlotte into Belmont, there's so many buyers that when we're putting houses on market, especially in the 225 to 250 range. We're getting 20, 30 offers. They're going over asking price. Actually, the house 2 or 3 over from this one just listed a 2-bedroom, 1-bath for $225,000. It went $15,000 over asking price in one day with 20 offers.
So how do you find, Cynthia, that you're trying to build your proposal to your requested? How do those compare to what you see as a realtor and other infill development in Belmont? How do you compare size, price point?
These are nice because they're smaller and they're one level, and they're still 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. Most houses are one level similar to this, or 2-bedroom, 1-bath, so it's really hard to have a family in there. And then if you get 3-bedroom, 2-bath or above, they're usually the 2-story, over 350, getting close to 400. These would be 3-bedroom, 2-bath, one level, sub 350.
So I want to ask you a little bit, do you feel like, and tell us why you feel like this project and the homes that we're building is sort of visually and functionally compatible with the neighborhood that we live in, so these certain neighborhoods?
They're a little bit compatible because I've done 2 houses there, so it'll match my style already. So it's actually, yeah. It's an interesting neighborhood though because all the houses look a lot different, or built in different years, have different styles. This particular one, both adjacent houses on both sides are similar, you know, they're sided, 1 story, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, so a little smaller. Other than that, the fact that it's not 2 stories, we did just started getting 2-story new construction there, but the majority of these houses are already 1 single story.
So the key here is, I guess, in terms of the size, the scale, the layout, floor plan, a lot of similarities and a lot of compatibility to use.
Yeah.
There's some discussion, one of the conditions is about the vinyl trim and not having vinyl anywhere else. Can you talk a little bit about that? There's some discussion, one of the conditions is about the vinyl trim and not having vinyl anywhere else.
Yeah, so we initially, in this project, we were going to do a luxury vinyl product. So there's vinyl siding on my personal home, I would not repeat that because that's not a luxury product. But luxury vinyl siding is about 1/3 of the cost of hardy board and a lot cheaper than brick. So ultimately, we haven't come full circle choosing vinyl or not, but especially with the rising wood prices, luxury vinyl sided products would help keep the price of these houses down in the lower 300s.
And that's actually the market that we're looking for.
Yes.
As a realtor, who's in that market segment? Who are the people that are buying houses at that price level?
Most importantly to me are first-time home buyers. So I really think there is a large struggle with people getting into the market right now. So we have people getting older and older and renting and being stuck renting because they cannot even get into homes. Even if they can afford to, even if they have been approved. So first-time home buyers are the ones I'm passionate about. But of course, also people that don't have the income to buy $400,000 and $500,000 houses. So in this neighborhood in particular, you're in walking distance to schools. You know, I'm also think it's very important that our police officers, our teachers, our EMS can afford to live in our own communities, be able to walk to the school, be walkable, have entry-level real estate that they can afford.
So, and we have, Shelley, what we've got is we've had some contact with the neighbors and about this project and what they're doing for you.
Yes, I know pretty much all the neighbors. I've not heard anybody that has any concerns. So, all support so far.
So you brought an additional tax.
Yes.
One of the neighbors, this is one of the neighbors on Ferrell that supported.
Yes. Actually, this is the adjacent lot. If you're looking at the lot to the left, that neighborhood that text message.
This is just another support correspondence, if we could type that out and make that. Finally, Cynthia, one of the things that we have to show in this process is that the proposed use will not substantially injure the value of the joint property, and you prepared a letter to, okay, that'd be great, if you could pass that out. Would you send one to Cynthia for the letter around? So I just want to ask you to explain to the council what you did in trying to make that determination and put that in before them.
So I'm basically using the MLS, the multiple listing service, track homes closed in the area, a quarter mile within the past 3 years. And then also I did it again, a half mile, new construction, an infill lot. And I basically wrote the data of how our homes are increasing in value. So I won't read this all to you because it's a whole lot. I think we all know that new construction is increasing in value, but certainly in this neighborhood,
I think this would be the fourth or fifth new construction infill lot, or infill, yes, project in this neighborhood. So we have had our property values rise by, and I really can't find the exact numbers here, but at least 25 to, I would say about 17% since I moved there. Andrew Weinberger has done some great things over there, so we've seen nothing but increases due to the new construction in the neighborhood.
And that, those increases are not just the new construction, but it's also lifting the value of the land property, and that's, is that one of the conclusions in your letter?
Yes, that is correct.
Finally, I did forget one thing, that was the question of the water drainage and the open drainage. Staff has talked to you briefly about that already. You'll just sort of describe what your thought process is and how you think the drainage issue can actually be benefited by this development.
Yes, so we are familiar with that issue since we live there. The drains on this particular lot are full of pretty rude debris. There's trash in some of them. We fully intend to clean out all the drainage ditches, and cover them with riprap, basically removing anything that's stopping the flow of water and easing the flow of water right down at the bottom. Since it's at the bottom, we would be cleaning out those ditches, clearing them up, and also making them look nice as well for the future homeowners.
And there's not to be any construction on or above the drainage ditches, all that can be open to the water property.
Yes, and it was taken into consideration when we placed the property.
Anything else that I haven't asked that you want to tell the council about this project? David has some questions.
Thank you.
We will just, if you could make the evaluation letter and the additional correspondence part of the record.
It is, that they accepted the part of that. Council members, any questions?
I have two. As far as the drainage issue, that'll always be your issue as the property owner or the people that buy the homes. That won't come to the city as, we want you to come into our property and improve it in the future at your cost. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then your opinion is that 3 smaller homes would be more affordable, and that's what the market wants, that's what people want versus 2 larger lot size homes there?
I believe that the market can withstand 2 larger houses and that we would sell them quickly. But I think more people need affordable houses that are smaller. So, and personally, I prefer to cater to the lower income and entry level buyers.
Okay, thank you.
Just a couple of questions, probably similar. Living on Lee Street yourself, so you're aware of the drainage issue. The property, whatever issues the property has with the drainage issues are the issues it has, and that exists without, no matter what you're doing. What you're doing to the property will not exacerbate the present situation, but it might, in fact, help the situation. Is that correct?
I would hope so, yes. We're definitely, our goal is absolutely to improve it. It's literally in my backyard, so it is important to me to improve it. I can't solve it, but we would definitely not make it worse.
And again, getting back to the type of house to build and the price point, I think we need more affordable housing, and I just want to make sure, as your attorney might remember, we had a fiasco a few years ago dealing with a proposed subdivision in Woodrow, and we just want, my concern is that it would not lead to any sort of gentrification, and that this is actually something that will be purchased by teachers or middle class first home buyers or first responders or whatever, and you're confident that that's in line with that.
Yeah, I mean, even just the layout of the houses, the fact that they are 3-bedroom, 1,500 square foot, smaller homes, higher end buyers are not going to be interested in that. They want 2-bedroom houses with big soaring ceilings that are 2,000 square feet. So I think by design of the house, you're targeting the entry level buyer.
and better than a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, which we do have a lot of right now too.
Yeah.
And I have the initial question about the drainage. Have you, in your tentative budget, planned for a possible situation where you might have to do more than what you're anticipating at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have already we own the lot straight out. We've been working with the lender. We do dirt work all the time as part of our business model. We anticipated the problem before we ever purchased it. Again, because it's in our own backyard, we see where the water comes, we can see the ditch over there. So we've already anticipated, yes, cleaning that ditch out, putting in the riprap. I mean, even if it wasn't a problem, it would still have to be fixed because of the way it looks right now. But I think making it look better is also going to make it more functional.
I just appreciate what you're doing to try to mitigate the flooding. I've been out there and I've seen it, and I know it's a big impact, and I feel like you will do what needs to be done because it also impacts you.
Yeah.
So to your benefit, if you go ahead and try to resolve that.
Great point. You know, it's different when you have someone who lives in the neighborhood that, the same neighborhood that they want to develop as opposed to like Las Vegas.
Our neighbor is our niece as well, so it's not just ours, it's our family members. So, and we do know that if we don't do a good job, they'll be at our doors, and we like our neighbors, so.
Any further questions for this witness? Thank you, ma'am, you can step down. Mr. Russell, you have a short closing argument.
The emphasis on the short and not on the closing. I'll be, thank you, Mr. Wilson, I will be brief. First of all, happy New Year to you all, and thank you for giving us the time to present to you. I would just make a couple points about special use permits or conditional use permits generally. Generally, the land development code favors development, it favors giving property owners the opportunity to do things with their property. And with a special use permit, you have to meet some additional criteria in order to get there. And so those are the three findings that we have to show you. But in general, the context of the code is that if we can do that, it favors the development. And there's some good benefits that come from that. There's a reason for that. And that's when you come before council with a special use permit application. A lot of times you can do things for the property and with the property that it would be a benefit to the community that might otherwise not be allowed. And in this case, what we've heard from the applicant really is on the context of the price point of the houses, the market, the segment of the market that is underserved, that really needs some additional housing stock. And, you know, one of the goals that we have in the town is not just to have housing places and houses that are available to people that can pay $500, $400, and even above that in terms of the house. And it's been interesting to be here because we've heard a lot about, you know, we're in a development pressure in terms of apartments and in terms of the rising land prices, the cost of housing. And so the fact that you have before you an opportunity where someone's coming and says, I want to build and add to our affordable housing stock that's available for first responders, for teachers. The community gets a lot of benefit from having a mixed and a diverse group of people that go to schools, walk to parks, walk to downtown, and this project provides that. I certainly think that the requirements have been met in terms of this project is consistent with the principles and specifications of the land use code. It does not endanger health and safety. It does not materially injure the value of adjoining property, and it's functionally visually compatible with the surrounding property. Those are, of course, the three findings that we have to meet, and I think the applicant's done that. So I appreciate your hearing from us. Certainly, we have to take any questions. And also, and thank you for the encouragement and support that you've shown us in terms of the grants and other issues that development.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Any other comments that move to come out of public hearing?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Okay, we're going to move to the next item, which will be consider the approval of SUP 2020.02 for 402 Ferrell Avenue. Before you can do that, we have to make findings of facts based on solely on the evidence that you've heard in the record, not anything outside that you know or believe to be true, but just what you've heard here presented tonight. So the first finding that you're asked to make is that the use meets all required principles and specifications of the Land Development Code and any adopted land use plans. All that think that, raise your hand. I'll see unanimous. Number two, the proposed plan, if developed according to the plan submitted and approved, will be visually and functionally compatible to the surrounding areas. All in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. The use will not materially endanger the public health or safety and will not substantially injure the value of adjoining property if located where proposed. If approved, if you believe that, raise your hand. Having made the required three findings, does someone want to make a motion to adopt a special use permit with the conditions in the record by staff?
I'll make that motion. The additional.
And the five.
Yeah. I'll second that.
Motion by Councilman Turner, second by Councilman Heffernan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Very good, thank you, Parson. Next item on the agenda is,
Code enforcement update.
code enforcement update. And we have Lindsay Yeager, going to present that for us.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. I put together an update basically discussing the past, as well as a few that I have been working on here recently. So in the first case, on the car feeder, Mr. Mariah, the owner, has he's been to update me weekly on his progress with the repairs. Over the last 3 months, or since our October meeting, they have installed the roofing and the shingles. The siding has been ordered. They are currently waiting on the county building inspector to give them the okay to proceed with their repairs. And he plans to have all the new windows installed within the next 2 months. And I've also scheduled a progress inspection on the case for January 19th.
Do you know when Gaston County might inspect, or, is there any undue holdup in that regard? Because I think there was a stalemate a few months ago about him saying, well, I need to get the county to do this for me to go forward, and the county wasn't doing anything, at least according to
Right. I think he was talking about the permit that we actually got on the permit.
Okay. So that there shouldn't be any delay in getting that inspection.
Yeah, there's certainly not. When I go next week, or 2 weeks from now, on the 19th, I'm going to get some definite deadlines, and possibly we have them sign an agreement on what day we can put in finished with it. For the second one, is the 951 Petition. This case is currently in litigation. Hearing is scheduled for the end of December. However, on the 14th of December, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court stated that that emergency directive warning, which ordered a 30-day pause for all of the proceedings. So it has been rescheduled to the end of January.
What progress has been made on that? I understand that he's, notwithstanding the fact that we're in litigation, he has actually been doing some of the stuff we originally wanted him to do.
He has. He's repaired the roof, he's repaired the siding on that the large building. I know that he was going to be demolishing the air structure, and they ended up, I believe, running into some more issues once he started on that.
The parties are scheduling, on-site inspection where everybody can see what progress is going to be made probably next week. Both in anticipation of the end of January hearing and second to report to council.
So they might actually finish it by the time they have the hearing.
Could be.
Probably the goal.
I imagine so.
So the third one is for 114 Wayne Ward. This is one of the ones that we were looking at to demo. So after I completed the inspection, it was found that the dwelling was dilapidated and unfit for being habitation. Hearing was conducted with the owner and in order to demolish was issued. We have until February 16th to either bring the property into complete compliance or demolish the dwelling and clean the lot of all debris and trash. The same situation for this next one, Top Street. After inspecting, it was very extremely dilapidated and a danger. So we conducted a hearing without the owner. He actually did not show up. And so we issued an order to demolish. And he also has until the 16th to either bring the property into complete compliance or demolish and clean the lot of all the debris and trash.
And then if they do not, it comes to us,
Correct.
what would be March or consideration of whether to order it for them.
Yes, in March.
And you can bring quotes with you at that point?
Okay. I'm sure if it comes around, sure.
Yeah. Whatever we would read that day.
The one on the South Central.
So the fourth case would be the 305 Ferrell Avenue. We conducted an inspection of the property. It was found to be dilapidated and fit for any type of human habitation. We scheduled a hearing for January 28th. And the outcome of the dwelling will be determined. And during that hearing, we will discuss it with the owner. It was the same case for 70 Taylor Street. I don't know if you guys remember about this one when we talked about it. But someone had brought it up, I think in our last meeting, they caught on fire with someone that was inside of it. But we did inspect the property, and it's still currently abandoned and unfit for human habitation. So we scheduled a hearing for January 28th as well, and the outcome will be determined during that hearing. 509 Franklin Street. This was, someone had called and complained about the safety of this. And they went out and...
With good reason.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't...
You have to get in first.
It was pretty much completely dismantled and very hazardous. So I conducted a hearing without the owner because they also didn't show up for their hearing. And then they had until the 16th to completely clean the lot of all the debris and trash. I don't know that it will be brought to the time, but and the last two cases are actually located in Dillon Taylor Park. This was the first one. This is trailer number 26. The most recent tenant had called and requested an inspection after numerous attempts for them to help her reduce the repairs. So it was also found that it was dilapidated and unfit for human habitation. Conducted the hearing without the owner. The owner did not show for that hearing. And we have until the 16th of February to either bring it to complete compliance or demolish and clean it off, clean the lot off. And this was also a complaint from a previous tenant, or the most recent tenant that was there. It was actually really scary to go inspect this place. I've never seen conditions that people were living in, that family was living in. It was scary to walk on the floor. You felt like you were going to fall through.
Wow.
So they actually ended up, the man was a veteran, so he got some veteran assistance and they moved out. So So we went ahead and conducted the hearing. The owner again did not show. And we have until the 4th of April to either bring the property into compliance or to demolish it.
Are there other trailers in it?
There are, I'm actually going to pick those apart one by one.
Okay, yeah, because I was just thinking, he's got two that look like that.
And these didn't look as bad on the outside as some of the other ones, so I was scared to see what the ones that look bad on the outside actually look like. But I'm going to get to look at each one, to make sure they're all compliant and safe for people living there.
Yes, yeah, how do you do that? I mean, you had complaints here, so you had cause. If there aren't any complaints issued on these other ones, I mean, how do you enter the property, or how do you conduct an inspection? Do you have to have cause or just suspected?
So there is a, it's called the broken window theory. If you drive by, if the place has busted windows or anything, that gives you, reason to say, I think I need to inspect this property. It looks like here, this could be some violation. So a lot of the other trailers are missing lots of electrical panels on the sides and stuff. So it's just a matter of being able to get in there and get permission. If we can't get permission, then you go and get a warrant. And that is all I have right now. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Thanks for all your hard work.
I appreciate what you've done on that, because it's very important to do that. Thank you for being on the
I guess we're going to have a busy March meeting.
Yeah,
Get the bulldozer.
yeah.
Get Richard on.
Thanks, Lindsay. All right. Next. Board reports.
So the next items are reports and draft minutes from your advisory boards. We've got draft minutes from the Historic Preservation Advisory Board, the Board of Adjustment, the Planning and Zoning Board, and the Environmental Sustainability Board. No action is needed, that's just so that you know what they're working on. And then item 5, D5, is the manager's report. Just as a reminder, we do have a city council workshop scheduled for Tuesday the 19th, because Monday the 18th is Martin Luther King Day, so it's a holiday. So that'll be at 4:00 p.m. on Tuesday the 19th here in this room. You had asked Seth Norkett to give an update on some software that we've been working on implementing, as well as some cybersecurity issues back in October, and we had to bump Seth because we had more pressing issues to discuss. So we rescheduled him for that. The Environmental Sustainability Board also would like to have a joint meeting with you. We had to bump them also from the workshop. We're going to try to have them on that meeting as well. And then Tiffany Farrow, our associate planner, wants to give you an update on several transportation issues and DOT projects. So that'll be on that workshop. And then you have your annual planning retreat on Friday, January 22nd, and Saturday, January 23rd. That'll be here. The Friday session will start at 5 o'clock, probably 5 to 8. And then Saturday will start at 8 a.m. We'll probably 2 in the afternoon. If you haven't already, let me know if there's any specific topics or projects or items you want to bring up on that meeting, and we'll be sure to incorporate those. The Central Iowa Regional Council is going to facilitate the retreat again, and they will be reaching out to you this week with a very brief survey of just sort of, how you think things have gone since last year's retreat. So be on the lookout for that. Also, Rocky Branch Park improvements are beginning this week. We had to close the park today because of the construction for the trail improvements. It's just not safe to have users out there while we're doing construction. So that will be closed for several weeks. We are hoping that the bids for the green trail will come in this week and will be low enough that that's a privately funded, but that portion can be done at the same time that the Carolina Thread Trail component is being done. So since the park is closed, so that work will be done over the winter and early spring. As a reminder, there is a elected officials meeting on Wednesday the 6th for the Catawba Crossings feasibility study. You should have received an email from Randy Gates several weeks ago. That's a WebEx meeting. this Wednesday the 6th at 5:30 PM. If you didn't get it or don't have the link, let me know, and Tiffany can get that information to you. But that's for elected officials throughout the Catawba Crossing area. And then finally, I'd like for our city engineer to give you an update on our South Belmont water tank and our booster pump station and a request for design proposals.
Yes, we, in the last couple of months, have been activities that are pushing two projects forward on our CIP list. One is the south water tank, which just in the last 30 days we closed with two towers that now own that property, approximately 1 acre, just south of the main driveway into Plant Allen. And it's been very agreeable and easy to work with. It's just taken time to get that accomplished. The other one is the North Booster Water Pump Station, which would be up in North Belmont. This pump station is required because the Habitat folks are going to move ahead with their property, which is at the very northerly point of North Belmont, as far as our reach can go. But we have pressure problems up there, and the only way we can improve pressures is to put in a booster pump station. That booster pump station will be very similar to the pump station that was constructed and installed at Belmont Avenue. Small building, about 20 feet by 13 feet, the size of one car garage. But if you look at the one that's up in Belmont Avenue, it's a nice looking building. It's got shingles on it and bricks. That being the case, I'm proposing that we move forward with these items as quickly as we can. I'd like to recommend that we get a contract with the HDR, which is an engineering firm here in Charlotte, Winston-Salem, Raleigh, and several other cities in the state. They have done work for the city before. In particular, they were the ones that did our water distribution modeling and master plan that was produced in 2016. Because both of these projects involve our water system and will need the design, the information, the study information in order to verify the design criteria for these pump stations and the elevated tanking of the height of the tank and how much pressure we're going to add at the booster pump station. I'm recommending that we hire HDR Engineering for these combined projects, these two projects. They have that information. I've worked with them before. In fact, I was just thinking that I hate to say it, but when I was in Chicago, I worked with HDR. They were one of the competitors up there. So they've been on a long time firm. They do a lot of work for Charlotte Water across the river and work for a lot of other people. I think the fact that they did our hydraulic study of our water system gives them a leg up because they've got all that data and they can plug in various alternative scenarios and determine what is the best thing for us to do as far as the water tank height and how to fill it up every night and then for the booster pump station. We do not have property for the booster pump station, so that's one of the first things I'll be working on is the site that I'm looking at is the North Carolina filtration plant up in North Belmont, just north of the railroad track. They have some frontage on Ackley Street that hopefully they will be willing to sell us a small parcel there, particularly in consideration of their cooperation, our cooperation with them when we want to buy that 7 or 8 acres of plant. We'll see how that goes, but if that doesn't go, we'll have to look for another site. But I think we'll find a site that works. In any case, I consider HDR to be a good firm that's around a long time. produce results. And, since they have kind of an inside track having done our water study, I recommend that it's a lot easier for them to make the analysis necessary and have all the documentation. Primarily all I'm doing is letting you know that that's my intent. We will get engineering contracts, which I would like the city manager to have the authority to go over and sign and look ahead and get these projects going. The water tank is in our capital improvement program, it's over $2 million. And then the Duke pump station up in North Belmont in the CIP is in the $400,000 range. Belmont Abbey College, the one we built there, we did it for under $200,000. So I'm expecting that what we end up with up in North Belmont will be considerably less. Elevated tanks, hopefully will be less also. We saved a lot of money as far as the property acquisition. I think we paid $5,000 for it to make it in the middle of two power plants. It's time to move ahead. If we're going to meet Habitat's schedule, we need to be under construction in about 6 months, I think, on the pump station.
Do we need to take a vote, or is that just something that we? That
It's
sounds good.
to authorize Jerry and me to get the proposal from HDR.
Do you have an alternate site for the, I guess?
No, I don't. I did look on the other side of the railroad tracks, Reliance Real Estate, and there's a couple of funny little parcels there around the church on the outside of the railroad tracks. They were not very agreeable. This was a year ago. They didn't want us doing anything. And it's kind of like, well, with the big pressure, which means you could get better use out of your property. Otherwise, we go on the other side of the railroad tracks and we don't have that advantage. But that was just dealing with their local real estate people who just said, oh, no, we don't want to cover it all.
So we're going back to filtration to try to buy a piece of the property that we sold them?
No, this will be actually in the front yard, right on Acton. The property that we sold them was off of Miller Street, so if you ever feel like getting in the parking traffic mess around their building, that's the Miller Street. You drive to the end of Miller Street, which is the end of their building, and that's where the property was that we did own.
Okay.
So we won't, to get there is another 1,000 or 2,000 feet of water pipe. On Acton Street, we have a 16-inch water line that goes up to North Belmont to serve it. We just don't have enough pressure in it, and that's right there in Acton Street. So we'd be literally making a connection, going to the booster pump and make another connection rather than trying to go up too far.
You said you're getting a proposal from HDR?
Well, I'm asking for an engineering contract. If I feel that their numbers are too high, then we can always go back to doing that, but.
Do we have like a bidding process we have to follow?
In this state, you are only allowed to do a qualification-based selection of an engineer. You can't do it based on price.
Got it. Okay.
We can't ask the price, qualification-wise, I'm just saying.
State's so weird.
Having been in the profession, it's sometimes difficult deciding how extensive the work effort's going to be either way.
Yeah.
Some engineers will, just like contractors, they'll think it's going to rain every day for the rest of the century. And some say, no, we can get out there tomorrow and get it done. It all depends. So,
Yeah, okay.
So what we're going to do, Jerry and Adrian to
Yep.
discuss with them. Get that road.
Oh, I'll make a motion that we
I'll second.
follow that proposal.
All in favor?
And we can report back to you, so that, I'm just kind of anxious to get them moving.
Yeah.
And, they know our system, so they know both projects, they can just jump right on.
Well, they need better pressure in North Belmont, I've heard complaints for some time.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna have, I mean, I'm assuming that the impetus for this is Dixon Village, but I'm assuming it would benefit more than just Dixon Village.
Well, yeah, everybody south of Dixon Road, but, yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So,
The Abington neighborhood will be happy to run their sprinklers a shorter time.
so I think we had a vote, it was sort of an aside, but we all are in favor of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then obviously the capital project themselves will come back in, there's a whole bidding process in place for that.
Yeah.
You're not authorizing construction, you're authorizing the design.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other business? Ryan, we'll start with you.
Is there a specific process you want us to follow to have items added to the retreat agenda? Do we need another council member to second it, or
Email.
just let you know? That's it.
You know, to add to that, I think there were some things left over from last year we may want to look at, because we had that parking lot, we put a lot in. I don't think all of it was vetted. I think it's still sitting there. So, you know, maybe let's revive those as well as maybe add some new topics. While I was sitting here, I really don't have anything that I want to add, but I want to ask a question, because I was noticing during the presentation that we got our new logo on our agenda, and it was all over the room when it came in. I thought we had a discussion about using the city seal on official documents and official functions. I thought, I would think the agenda is an official city document. Remember that was brought up.
So the seal is on your kitchen information. This is just for presentation purposes, and so part of what we wanted to do is to have consistent branding for presentation materials. So we'll use the new brand for presentations, but the city seal is on your agenda.
Are you guys, you brought that up last time, right? Are you guys hearing from people about the logo and city seal?
Yeah, particularly things on the water deal, so I brought it before,
Gotcha.
because people are seeing that, and they're not thinking that that's something that we're advertising, that they are
Got
pushing,
it.
that
Okay.
they have more official document.
I think that, at some point, if we need to, maybe, rather than a preference, maybe an official policy on what constitutes official documents and what is not.
Just a couple things. I again want to thank the planning board for their thoughtful and careful consideration of the text amendment that we voted on today. One thing I just wanted to follow up, that Richard mentioned, amending the comprehensive land use plan. I'm not opposed to that. That is something that might merit consideration. I just think that that's what needs to be done before we do something that's inconsistent with the plan we currently have and sort of amend it by fiat. I also want to take this time, since it's January 2021, and thank everyone. This was such a different meeting than our January 2020 meeting. We still, we disagreed on some things by a matter of degree. I think we all are moving, again, I think we're moving in the same direction. We might differ by degree only, but, I think this was a much better, you talked about where we were since our last retreat. I think this has been a much better and a good discussion, and respectful to each other. And then the only other thing I was thinking of that we haven't heard about in a while is the Essex Homes situation with those lots up in, the Conservancy? Because that still is 8 homeowners who are sort of in limbo right now, and I don't know what Parks can necessarily tell us, what with privilege and everything, but, I think we should
keep that on our radar because, you know, that is, what do you all say, a cloud on their title perhaps. And it's one thing to say, well, let's put it aside while we, you know, now that they filed this litigation, but that was several months ago, and you know, I think we owe it to them to try and make some progress or figure out what we want to do about that.
As far as a formal answer to that, our latest conversation had what we presented as a counter proposal, and that's probably been 2 months. And we've not heard back from them. Now, they've had a corporate buyout, all the players are different, and,
Wow.
and so I don't really know what they're doing.
Can you let the property owners know that?
I mean,
Versus us getting emails from them saying that we're not doing anything?
Because, I mean, I understand it merits, you know, it's definitely the right thing to do to sort of put it in advance pending the lawsuit, but it can't stay that way forever.
I agree. I hope, I'll try to give you a progress report as soon as I hear from them, and I will contact them again. But it was clear that the ball was in their court to respond to us from our latest conversation.
I just want to wish everybody a very happy new year and hope to God it's better than what we had last year. Been a tough year last year. Martha?
I have several items. I wanted to make the council aware, I've requested that Adrian contact the league with regard to social media issues. I know Section 230 prohibits us from suing certain, the big entities, but I'm being personally vilified by a person who does not even reside in Delmar, resides in Fayetteville, but the council is also being vilified and being called corrupt. I don't look at it, but have a person who monitors it for me. So I think it's something we need to be aware of, and I don't know, probably if there's anything we can do, but we'll address it with the league first. We want to make sure that we have both our city hall and our city works easily accessible to the public. I don't think sometimes the public knows which door to come in here and whether we have a good front door or front receptionist situation. With City Hall, there's confusion, I think, sometimes about how somebody should go in. And so I was not aware Deborah was still there. I spoke to Adrian about that because we, my way of thinking, the chamber and the Main Street people should be there and make sure we get everybody moved. The police department, I'm assuming you know, I did not realize we have handling going on. I had a citizen report that. So we may need to alert the citizens if that in fact is going on more than once or twice, so they're aware of it, because it would be quite disconcerting. I think we're not expecting that in Belmont most of the time.
Where was it?
Excuse me,
You know where it was?
downtown.
There's also usually a guy right at that exit.
That's the only
Yeah,
time
no,
I've ever
this
seen
was
it.
downtown. Our water bill, we need to review the situation there. I was not aware we have maybe one or more residents who cannot read or write, so we want to make sure we are accommodating them as we have in the past when we had that personal interaction. I know we've kind of separated that, but we need to be real careful to make sure that we're helping those people. I don't know that, but I've just listened to citizens talking. The water alert system, we need to look at that again. It did not alert me, and another citizen I spoke to did not alert them. So I don't know, maybe we have to reach a certain level before it's noticeable, but if we would review that and maybe make it a lower level before you alert the person.
Is that for like a leak or high usage?
High usage, yeah. And also the last thing is actually a really good thing. Our $50,000 for our skateboard park 15 years ago would have given us a wonderful park. $225,000 is going to give us something basic. And so I have said earlier that I would look for donations. And so with COVID, that was not particularly possible, but I'm still hoping to get maybe about $10,000 to do enhancements, because we have several people who know what needs to be there, and it's going to be more than what we're going to be able to provide. So I have a check for $3,000 I'm going to give to Adrian. I'm hoping to secure more funds. Part of the problem was that I couldn't ask people with COVID. There are a lot more things that need to be taken care of, but now that we're kind of getting hopefully past the edge of it, I think that I probably can get some funding. If anybody has any other ideas about that, I think that would be great, so that we can have something outstanding, not just basic. And I'm happy for the basic, but would like to have more, so at least have a $3,000 start for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Appreciate that.
I just have two things. I like Jim's idea of maybe taking a second look at the comprehensive land use plan. And, because I kind of get the feeling that might be something we need to, not necessarily a full-blown, like, what we did last time or 2 years ago, but just kind of maybe some targeted updates, just because I feel like the city has changed a lot, the council has changed. I think it might be a good idea to maybe just make sure that the plan actually reflects our plan and the community's plan. The only other thing I had was the dent lizard facility that actually backs up like to my neighborhood. I was actually just out walking around because the weather was nice, and noticed that the fence that's on the rear of their property backs up to, it's like 3 or 4 houses that abut the edge of their property. And I had thought that, because I had remembered sort of that when this went through, I think at the beginning of maybe 2019, that they were required to put in some sort of fencing or something. So I actually looked up and it looked like they agreed to do an 8-foot fence with evergreen trees on both sides. But all they've got up is basically it's just a barbed wire fence with that, I don't know what you call it, the landscape cloth. Like, it's like a green cloth that basically, I was standing on the street, which is probably a good 100 or 150 feet away, and I could see right through it to the cars in the back. I'm actually a little surprised that no one's knocked on my door and like beat me up about that, because like if that was my yard, I'd be pretty pissed. But so I don't know if there's some way to just make sure that what they've got is consistent with what's supposed to be there. But
Do we have a process for doing that?
What?
Making sure, like, what's the follow-up process when somebody like?
Or like with the start.
The dent lizard on Wilkinson?
The required landscape screening and fencing in the rear.
Yes, the project planner goes out with the inspector and inspects the site. Now that one was problematic in that they had to get out of their old site, and they occupied that before they came into full compliance. But one of the issues I know is the landscaping in there is there's a drainage swale back there.
Okay.
That the condition did require landscaping, but we had to make sure that the landscaping wouldn't impact the drainage and cause flooding to the house. So I will get with the project planner and follow up on that next, maybe why some of the screening changed, but it's still, there's ways we can enhance it.
Okay, yeah, because it's not really screening it very much. Like
Yeah,
and a barbed wire fence in your backyard is not really good luck either. But
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Sounds terrible.
I wanted to say something, I forgot to write it down. Twice last week, and of course several incidents before, coming back from Charlotte, heading south on 85, I get off at Keener. And the 2 turn lanes, I think this may have been brought up before, but twice last week I saw cars almost hit each other, swap paint, because there's no delineation of where your lane is as you're turning to go over the bridge. And we need to get that done, because watching these folks, they have no idea where their lane was, and there was a lot of drifting. And I don't know how, in one instance, these cars did not hit each other. I mean, you could not put a piece of paper between them before they reacted and separated. I'm guessing that's a DOT responsibility?
I've asked the DOT to paint the curve like you see at the intersection of Lakewood and Wilkinson,
Okay.
to delineate that. They have not done that, so I'll follow up with them.
Okay.
But if you're in the meeting, that might be.
Yeah, I'll bring it up to Mark, he should be there.
Yeah, that's good.
You probably have more clout than I do.
DOT is its own entity.
Thank you. All right, anything else? All right, so want to entertain motions to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
What was